Well, the world has sure gone nutty, buddy, even downright cruddy, buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Long time no see, buddies. How's everyone doing? It's another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Thank you for joining me again. I've got not one, but two buddies on this show. I've got my good buddy Jade. We all know him. You all know and love Jade, our favorite Rocky impersonator, our favorite Stallone impersonator. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic. And hey, we got a new buddy on the show. We got our new buddy Eric. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. For those who don't know, Eric is a Bruce Willis impersonator. Am I right?
Well, I did some impersonating, but I also actually worked with him. So I'm a photo double, stand-in, impersonator.
Nice. You know, Jade, you've been on the show a handful of times. Let's get to know Eric a little bit, and then I'm going to bring you in, okay? So don't go anywhere.
Absolutely.
You can tune in and everything like that, or you can chime in and stuff. But let's get to know Eric a little bit. Eric, tell us about how the whole Bruce Willis thing began.
Well, how much time do we have? Because it'll take some time, but I'm going to give you an edited version of it. I started my film journey back in 1998. And it started with people kind of coming up to me and say, "Hey, man, you look like Bruce Willis." Or, "Has anybody ever told you look like Bruce Willis?" So I was always a big fan of Bruce. I mean, a huge fan, the Die Hard films. And so anyway, that just kind of, the more people started telling me, I started noticing a little bit of a resemblance. And then it just kind of became a desire to want to work with the guy. Which that's a whole nother story. It'll take some time to, tell you that story. So
that was my next question. How did you get to work with Bruce Willis?
Well, perseverance. And that's first and foremost. I never gave up. It took me years to get in with him. Again, I started in 98, 99. I was kind of fortunate because my next door neighbor at the time was a photographer for the government. So, he was a big shot in the government. He actually was worked for the veterans of foreign wars. And so any kind of big to do with the president or, dignitaries, he was there. So he was well known in the, in the business. And so anyway, he made comments about the resemblance, and he said, "Hey, listen, why don't you come on down to my studio and we'll get you set up with some 8x10s. And, I didn't have any money at the time. So he said, "Look, it's free. Don't worry about it. So we'll let the government pay for it." So that worked for me. And so that's kind of what got the ball rolling. I didn't really know. I didn't have an agent or anybody working for me. So I always did my own footwork. And so I had some, got the pictures made up. I got in the phone book. I don't know if you know back in the day, we used to have phone books.
Oh, I remember phone books.
That's how we got, names.
I'm a 90s.
numbers.
I'm a 90s baby.
There
I know
you
what a
go.
phone book
All
is.
right.
Eric, you got with him twice, right? Didn't you get with Bruce Willis twice? You worked with him.
I got with Bruce Willis twice, but it took me it took me years to get in with him. A lot of persistence, a lot of hard work. I didn't give up. A couple of close calls. So I sent some pictures out to a modeling agency that I found in the phone book, and a casting director that I also found in the phone book. And in Maryland, it's not a big film industry. There's been a lot of film here, but lately nothing. But back then, I think it was more I think that there was a lot more being shot in the state back in the day. But so anyway, long story short, I end up getting a call from the modeling agency about a year later. And so, you know, I kind of forgot about the pictures being mailed out. So I get a random phone call from this girl that says she works for Nova Models out of Baltimore. So we got an audition set up for you. And somebody in New York is interested in meeting with you also. So I was like, oh my gosh, I finally got a hit, you know, after all this time of waiting. So anyway, half of that was truth. The other half of it was a bunch of smoke she was blowing. So she did set me up with an audition for the film Unbreakable. So that was back in the year 2000. And so I got in the car with her. We rode up to Philly. You know, I had an audition, but I thought that they just kind of wanted to look at me and see if I look like Bruce Willis. And I felt pretty confident, like, you know, I felt like my look was similar enough to where I would get it.
Well, people are constantly telling you. People always told you that from years. Especially,
I mean, you know, it was nonstop. If I had a dime for every time somebody stopped me, I've been retired by now. So, but anyway, so I get the audition. I go up. You know, there's a room full of people, actors that are there to see this casting director, and you know, I was nervous. I mean, I just kind of sat there with my kind of burying my head, my hands over my face, and this one guy got up and he came over to me and he said, "Hey man, listen, I don't mean to keep staring at you, but your profile, dude, you are spot on to Bruce Willis." He said, "This lady that you're here to see, I'm good friends with her. I do voiceover work for her, and I got an idea. You and I can do a commercial together." So he gave me his card, and you know, I put the card in my pocket, and then I got called to go back and stand in front of a casting director and read a couple lines. And you know, I was nervous. I did the best I could. And I remember asking her after I finished audition, I said, "So what now? What happens now?" And she said, "If we're interested, we'll call you." So I said, "All right, cool." So I go back home. A week goes by, 3 weeks, couple months. Now they're shooting the movie. I never got a call. So that was kind of the first taste of rejection, like right out of the gate.
And that was going to be a stand-in for Bruce?
Right out of the gate. I mean, I got an audition, felt pretty good about it, but I didn't get the job. So, but I didn't give up. I knew I had something. I just didn't know how to get to it. So funny thing was, about a year later after they finished filming that movie, and I think my wife and I had already gone to see the movie. And I don't know if you remember the Unbreakable movie, but they had you know, where they go back in time and they got a young version of Bruce Willis. And, you know, the guy said a couple of lines. And I thought to myself when I was watching the movie, I could have done that. Right. I could have done it. But they didn't give me an opportunity. So, but it wasn't my time. It wasn't meant to be. So anyway, I get a call from the guy that gave me the card to come up and do a commercial. So I show up at his place, and it's him and his buddy, and they're well known in the New Jersey area, and they're called the Wild and Crazy Guys, kind of like the spinoff of Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin. And you know, they do these silly car commercials, and everybody in the area knows them. So we did this. They brought a kid in that looked like the boy from The Sixth Sense.
Oh, that's right.
So they bring him in, they bring me in, and we do the bedroom scene where the boy's hiding in the, you know, he's got covers pulled up to his chin, and he tells the doctor what his secret is. Well, they shot me from the profile and a couple over the shoulder shots, and then maybe a wide shot. And we had a great time filming the commercial. It went on TV in that area.
I remember that looked good. That looked good. I remember that.
And guess who saw it? The casting director. So she gets on the horn. She calls, the guy's name is Joe Gibbs. He's a good friend of mine. And he impersonates like over 100 voices. He's very, very talented guy. But anyway, so she calls him and she said, "Oh my gosh, how'd you get Bruce Willis?" He said, "That's not Bruce Willis. That's the guy that was in your office that day that you auditioned."
Yeah, that's right.
And so she's like, "How the heck did I overlook this guy?" So it was kind of like a bittersweet type thing.
Yeah. So that's when you got your first stand-in work with Bruce himself, right?
Well, that was way before it. So that was kind of like a little taste of doing a commercial as a Bruce Willis lookalike. So, and then then my phone started ringing from time to time for HBO's The Wire. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, with the girl, the actress from Seinfeld.
Well, that was Veep. Yeah, so this was like real life on the streets of Baltimore.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and so I came. They were working on the second season, so I started getting phone calls to come in to do background extra work, and they'd always make me a cop, which I liked. That was very, very cool. And one time they made me the chief of police. That was even cooler. So it was kind of a lot of background acting work that I got first. But you got to learn the ropes. You have to learn how what goes on a set, who does what, the director, the lighting, grips, all this stuff that goes. There's so much stuff that goes on a set, and the people work hard, and it's amazing to watch them work together. Each person has their own job, and they put it together, and it's when it's finished, it's awesome. So it was kind of preparing me for what was to come. And then 6 or 7 years later, well, let me back up. I got the audition in 2000. I didn't get it. Didn't get the job. 4 years later, I got called for the film called Hostage, which is actually one of my favorite Bruce Willis movies. So I flew out. I got a call from a casting director out there. "Hey, are you local?" "No, I'm not." "Well, can you get out here to LA?" "Yeah, I can get out there." So I flew out on my own dime, sent them some pictures, and so I get in town and I call the casting director. I said, "Hey, I'm in town." And he's like, "Well, sorry, man, we're not going to be able to meet with you today." And I said, "Well, man, I just flew all the way across the country to come out here for this audition, and you're not going to be able to meet." "No." He said, "Listen, we can't." And he also said to me, "Look, you don't want to piss anybody off or you won't get the job." So I thought to myself, I don't really need this guy. I'm going to go over to this place and let them see me without this guy. So not trying to be underhanded, but I was there for a purpose. And when I got there, I show up to a place called Raleigh Studios, and got out of the car, walked across the street, and they're working on sets that are out in the open. They got door, the weather's beautiful. They got the doors open. So I start walking across the street, and I hear these guys that are working. "Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce." And they started waving at me. So I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to get in here today." So I get in, I go up.
Right?
Huh?
It's a good sign.
Yeah. So I go up to the guard shack, because you just can't walk in this place. You got to either know somebody or be on the list or whatever. So, the guy said, "Hold on, man. Let me call up there. I'll see if they'll let you come up." So he calls, and they said, "Send him up." So the guy explains to me, "Go in the door, go to the right, elevator, go up, and go to the left." I said, "All right, cool." So I do that, make my way into the production office, and I walked in, and they had Bruce's picture on the bulletin board, and next to it was my picture.
Wow.
I was thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. So anyway, I met the second AD, and then he takes me down the hallway, and I meet the director, and then we come back to the office, and then he walks back out with me, and he's saying, "Look, you're going to work X amount of days. We'll be in Simi Valley working for 30 days, and then we'll be over." So he's like laying all this schedule out to me. Well, at the time, I was a well, I'm actually getting ahead of myself. So anyway, he said, go back to your place, get some rest, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. So as we were talking, somebody got off the elevator because I could hear the ding. And then I look and I caught his profile. Bruce Willis showed up.
Mm.
So when he showed up, I mean, my jaw hit the ground. I was like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Starstruck.
And so,
Like,
yeah, and so was
I
his
saw
second AD.
Yeah.
He was like, man, what? He was looking at me and looking at Bruce like, what are the chances of both of y'all showing up at the same time? So Bruce looked at me, hey, how you doing? Shook my hand, and then off to the director's room he went to. So
He shook your hand.
Shook my hand. He looked at me, and then he went down there to chat with the director. So the guy told me to give him a call the next day. I called him, and then he said, man, listen, I hate to tell you this, but the director is going to go with a guy, a buddy of his that's he said, man, he don't look a thing like Bruce Willis, but they're going to go with him. And I was hurt, man. So I jumped on the plane, went back home, and kind of.
That's Hollywood.
Yeah, kind of told my wife, I said, listen, I'm done. I'm finished with this because I get so close. I had an audition. I got hired for this movie, and then they passed me over again, and I think I'm finished. So, my feelings were hurt again. And then, I go out maybe the next day or two to the mall or to the store. 5 people come up to me, man, you look like Bruce Willis. So it just kept fanning the flame. I never gave up. I knew I had something, and I kept at it. And eventually I ended up, my big break was Live Free or Die Hard, which is that one right there.
Yeah.
So I finally got an opportunity, jumped online, found out what movie Bruce was working on. They were casting the first week and a half of that movie in Baltimore City. So I shot a quick picture and an email to the casting director, and she called me within like 15, 20 minutes. Where are you? I said, I'm not far from you. Can you get down there? I'll be right down there. So that's how I got my big break. It was the most amazing thing when I finally got on set, met Bruce, was able to stand in for him, worked a bunch of scenes on that film. And so I'll be quiet for a minute, let you go ahead. And
No, you're good. You're
but
good.
that's
What
how
was
I
it
got
like
started.
what was it like when you finally got your opportunity to work with him? Like, what was it like working with him?
I mean, all I can remember is, we were in this like a couple, I don't know if you ever been Baltimore City, like the Inner Harbor area,
Mm-hmm.
but we were a couple blocks up from there. So the place was going bananas because they knew Bruce was there. They knew they were filming Die Hard. It was packed with people hanging out of buildings, looking out the office building, on the streets. The news showed up. I mean, it was total. I mean, it was so exciting. I mean, just to finally get that opportunity. But I remember when he first showed up, here comes a black SUV that pulls up, and out jumps Bruce on the passenger side. And then he walked over and he looked in the windshield at me and kind of gave me a little, pointed at me and was like that. So it was too cool, man. I was on cloud 9. So.
And that was your first time, the first time you were working with Bruce, right?
First time ever, man. Yep.
And then what happened? Was that short-lived because of you had some family issues or something?
Well, not really family issues. So it took me years to get in with him, like I said. And then when I finally got that break, and I'll show you this picture. I have to walk off screen for a minute in a second, but because that thing just jumped out at me. But it took me a while to get in. And then when I did, I was a single father at the time, and my children were still in school. So the cool thing was we filmed like the first week and a half in Baltimore and DC. And then they packed everything up and went back to LA for a couple of weeks to film the rest of the movie. So I got a call from one of the producers, like some big shot producer that he's worked a whole bunch of movies other than Die Hard, but he said, "Hey man, Bruce Willis wants you back out here. He would love for you to come out here and work with him some more." And so I was young and didn't really think it all the way through. You know, the fact that my kids were going to be left behind with I wasn't married to my girlfriend at the time, but she and I were living together, and the timing was off. So anyway, I ended up having to come back. I did go out to LA and I worked a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever. And the timing was just off for me in life. And, you know, my kids were more important and my priority. So I came back home, and it bothered me because I had I didn't finish the complete movie. So it bothered me for a long time. And then I was able to reconnect with Bruce 10 years later. So that was a miracle. So the timing was right then. So, but hang on just a second. I want to show you something. This is the whole buzz that was going on down in the city when we were filming Die Hard.
All right. And while you're doing that, I'll just explain how we met.
Yeah.
So Eric and I met on the set of The Starving Games, the parody of the Hunger Games, back in 2012, which was released in 2013. Oh, you got what you're going to show us?
Yeah. So real quick, this was given to, so the newspaper was there. I mean, everybody was there. The news, the newspapers, everybody.
I'm giving you the screen for a minute. So
yeah, thank you. So this, I don't know if you're able to see that or whatever, but
yep.
So the Baltimore Sun shows up, and you know, they were trying to get my picture, and Bruce, you know, the PR people didn't want him getting my picture, and then finally, I believe Bruce said, "Go ahead and let him have the picture." So they took this photo right here, this one over here.
Of you in a jacket?
Yeah. And so they took the photo, and then I got a call from the reporter that night after we finished filming, and we did an interview. And then the very next day, before I went over to set, I stopped at a 7-Eleven up the street from my place and grabbed a drink and then headed to set. But noticed the front of the page of the paper, Bruce and I were on it. So
wow, that's
I was like, I mean, that was too cool to see that and read it. And the guy did a heck of a job with the interview. And then after I wrapped with Bruce, you know, he and I took this photo here, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in front of the Baltimore Sun building. So yeah, Bruce was kind enough to get a picture with me, and
that's a great shot. Yeah.
Nice.
That was awesome. So
yep. So you guys met on the Starving Games.
Yeah, the Starving Games. We were in Louisiana. We filmed that out in the woods, and there were several of us. We had Eric. We had Bruce Willis, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Statham, and Chuck Norris. And so the five of us became friends, and we decided we were going to create a group like the Expendables, but because we had a great scene in the film, the Starving Games, and we created the Expandables. So we started pursuing the reality shows. We tried to do that. We had that didn't work out so well, but we really had a lot of good times together. We got paid for a lot of that. We did commercials together and corporate events. So we've done a lot of things in the last 10 years together, and we're always looking for more. So if anybody out there wants to hire us, we may or may not be available. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
And
So I was about to say, do you guys have any upcoming projects?
Well, one thing we do every year is we meet in Stillwater, Oklahoma for the Oklahoma State game. We're friends with Coach Gundy, the head coach, and friends with a family. So we meet up there every year. I live in Dallas, not too far. And we meet, and he brings some of his boys with him. We have a great time every year. And, we're always working, like right now, we're working on this concept for, Eric can tell you more about that. He's working on a concept for a reality, like a documentary. So I'll let you go with that, Eric. Like whatever you want to talk about. Hey, it's my interview,
I mean, it just meeting, all of us lookalikes down in Louisiana. What was it? Hammond, Louisiana.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, Jade really jumped out at me the most out of all the guys. I mean, his mannerisms and his he's the best Rocky I've seen.
Well, I've been doing this lookalike thing since 1980, 81. So I've been doing it longer than these guys. So a lot of these guys just were actors and they were trying to get a gig and they happened to look like people. And Eric was the only other one that was like, yeah, everybody told him you look like, you're like a real good lookalike, not only a performer, but a good lookalike, where the other guys were actors that kind of look like him. But Jason looks a lot like Jason Statham too. Mm-hmm. But anyway. So
we all became buddies.
Exactly.
And mainly Jade and I mean, we met, what was it, 2012 or 13 when we did that?
We filmed in 12 and it released on 13, I believe.
Well, look at what I got next to me. Huh.
Wow, look at that.
There it is.
But I'm not on that one. That's not the cover. Am I on that one?
Oh, yeah. You know what? None of us are on this. They got the other.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm on one of the posters in the disc cover. I'm on the disc cover. If you could actually go on Amazon, I believe, and still get the Starving Games on a DVD, and I'm on the cover. My little head is, and maybe on the back.
Man, I was so happy to see that too, because if anybody should be on it, Jade should have been the guy. So, but that's how we met. And then, Jade and I, man, we've seen it. What is that? 2012. We've seen each other every year since.
Right.
I mean,
but let me set you up, brother. So for the next part of his career, so he couldn't do the movies for a while because he was raising his kids. So he gets back in. It took him a long time, and he got back into it. Next thing you know, for the past several years, he's been doing, I don't know, you can tell how many films. You got so many films and commercials flying all over the world for Bruce Willis as a stand-in double. And he would do sometimes more of the scenes than Bruce did. Like Bruce might work 1 or 2 days. Eric would work like a week, right?
Yeah.
So how'd you get back into doing the films with him?
Well, you know what, man? That's when Facebook came out. And I was able to reach out to Bruce Willis's stunt double that I knew from Live Free or Die Hard that actually sustained some serious injury. I don't know if you remember the movie, but there was a scene where Bruce and Justin Long are in Justin's apartment, and the terrorists blow the apartment up. And anyway, so we were in downtown LA. It was a night shoot, and Larry Rippenkroger is his name. He's a great dude. He's been in a bunch of Bruce Willis movies. When I first met him, I asked him, how'd you get into the business? And he said, you ever see that movie Waterworld? And I said, yeah, I saw that movie. He said, do you remember that guy on the jet ski that went up in the air, came down and went under the water and then popped back up? And I said, yeah, that was probably one of the main or the only scenes that I really remember from it. And he said, that was me. He said, I'm a world champion jet skier, but this guy is fantastic. I watched him when we did a lot of those scenes that they did in Baltimore City, where when the helicopter, I don't know if you remember any of that, but the terrorists were chasing Bruce through the city, and the guy driving that car was Larry.
Okay.
And I mean, he was fantastic. He would take that car, stop it on a dime. I mean, it was just crazy watching him work. So anyway, I almost lost my train of thought. So, oh, that's what it was. So Facebook, I typed Larry's name in years later, found him, and then was able to reconnect with Stephen Eads, and who is Bruce's manager, and yeah, I mean, he Stephen, and I'm grateful to him because he gave me the opportunity again to jump on board with them and jump be a part of their team, and ended up doing 13 films with him, 20 commercials. I got to travel around the world. I mean, I just wanted to get my foot in the door with him one time, but it turned out to be so much more. I mean, I went to Rome, I've been to Spain, I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico, and all around the States. So, yeah, it was an honor. It really was. Especially, I mean, whatever Bruce needed from me, I always tried to be the best I could be for him. And
how many did you film in Georgia? Because isn't that the last place you filmed?
The last place I filmed was in New Mexico, and it was a film called Detective Night.
Okay. And
it was directed by Edward Drake, and Ed directed 5 or 6 of the films that I was on, 5 of the 6 Willis films that I was on. But it was an honor, man. I mean, to go from doing background acting, you're stuck in a room with a bunch of extras, which is, it's awesome, but that's not really what I wanted. I wanted to work with Bruce, but I'm going to throw this in there. I believe the Lord opened the door for me. And once the time was right, the timing had to be right.
Yeah.
And when that was right, then the door was wide open, and I was doing the most amazing things. And I got to fly twice with Bruce in his private jet. So,
Ooh.
I mean, just to be able to be in his space, work with him, double him, travel with him. I mean, it just turned out to be so much more than I ever thought it would be. So, and along the way, I got to meet my man Jade, who is like a brother.
Mm-hmm.
He and I are, tight. He's like family to me. I mean, we spent a lot of time together. We've done gigs together. We've done, corporate parties, or we've done big convention shows in front of like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
So, I love this guy like a brother. He's a buddy, and he means a lot to me, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, Buddycast, eh?
Oh, buddy. My buddy.
How many Bruce Willis films have you done with you, like in total?
13.
Ooh. 13.
And again, if things had been different, it probably would have been in the 30, 40 range, because Bruce he was knocking them out one after another during the fourth Die Hard that I worked.
Nice.
So,
out of all the films you worked with him, which one would you say was the most fun you had?
I worked in Hollywood. I worked in Canada. I had a lot of fun in New Mexico, and I had a lot of fun in Georgia because I got to meet a lot of good people. I prefer the small towns over the big Hollywood scene. I mean, I worked out there for 6 weeks on a film called Once Upon a Time in Venice, which is...
Yeah, you see it.
Yeah. So that was a cool movie. A lot of good actors, but I just prefer, the smaller towns. You get to meet people that are real, that are straight shooters and good people. And I still got some friendships from some of those movies, that are people that I still keep in touch with 3-4 years later. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a question for both of you. Out of the celebrities that you impersonate, that you have worked with, what's your favorite thing about them? Like, what stands out to you the most about them?
Go ahead, my man.
About the celebrities I've worked with, the real celebrities?
I'm talking like when you do the Sly Guy. What's your favorite thing about Sylvester Stallone?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. It goes the character he created in Rocky. And, this year, he did that special on Netflix, and he's been interviewed on his daughter's podcast called On Wax, and so much more insight to that guy. And we always loved most people love the Rocky character from day one. But the reality, the thing about Stallone is that if you know his background, then you really appreciate what he accomplished.
How he went from we went from broke nothing to where he is today.
And an abusive childhood. He was in a very dysfunctional family, and they were not encouraging and sane enough to, like most people hope to grow up in, that kind of family. Everybody has some dysfunction and some issues in family, and no family's perfect, but he had a lot of things to overcome. And so it's almost like in real life, he was more like the Rocky character than you would imagine. So I just appreciate the character that he created, and it gives hope to millions of people because of that. That's a very inspirational character. People, I think, associate him with the Rocky character. So yeah, I just appreciate that. And we've talked about this before, for better or for worse, what it did for me, because from high school, when people started telling me I look like him and giving me a hard time and calling me Rocky and Yo Adrian when I'd walk through a bar in my 20s, it created an impetus for me to come out of my shell, because I wasn't really that into entertaining, and I became an entertainer. I became more open and connecting to the public, and it's forced me to be more so of a social person. And I've had a lot of it, like Eric, a lot of great experiences around different parts of the world and all over the country, met great people. I wouldn't know Eric, I wouldn't know Nick if it weren't for Stallone. Think about it. I mean, it's very unlikely we all would have met, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like, is all the things that it's provided for me. It didn't make me a multimillionaire, but it made me rich in a lot of other ways. So I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%.
Eric, what about you and Bruce?
As far as, run that question by me again.
What do you love most about Bruce Willis? Like, what stands out to you the most about him?
I mean, I was always amazed, when I was on these sets, just watching him work. Just watching him film a scene and just seeing how much talent he has. And
started out as a bartender. Wasn't he a bartender? I mean, he didn't start off wealthy.
No, But just to watch him work, I mean, I would sit there and think, man, how does, like, he'll, when he's doing a take or whatever, most of the time he'd knock it out of the park with one or two takes, and that'd be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just watching him work and watching him put his spin on things, that always amazed me. I mean, and then watching him, just some of the action shots of being around him when he's shooting and moving, and just what I just got to experience so much. It was just such a thrill to watch him work. So
I guess he also created a lot of jobs and a lot of industry and careers for thousands of people also.
Yeah,
because every time they're successful, a lot of people benefit from that. And
right. And we had a good team of people. I mean, again, I worked 13 films, and I was doing the photo double stand-in. It was more photo double work toward the end. Back when I first started, it was a lot of standing in. And if people don't know what that's all about, I mean, people see these movies and they get, excited and think it's all glam and glitz, and man, it is not. It's a lot of hard work. The people that work on these sets work long hours. They work their butts off. That's why they should be paid for what they're doing. And so the whole standing in thing, I just remember, I don't remember what movie it was, but man, after you're standing there for an hour, 2 hours, and then they forget about you and you're still standing there, I'm thinking to myself, man, this stuff sucks. It's not. It's not what it. It's not what it's all cracked up to be.
Yeah, it's harder work than people think. Exactly.
Oh
and
man,
boring at times. Yeah.
So that's why all these union people that were just on strike need to be paid because they work hard.
Right.
So, but anyway, we had a good group of people around. Good team. Stephen Eads, myself, Double and Bruce. Stuart Wilson, who was Bruce Willis's stunt double for many movies. Adam, you just had a good crew around us. So Bruce had a good team, and I was honored to be a part of the team with those guys. So a lot of good memories.
What year was the last film that you did? What year was that? Was that 2 years ago?
2021. That was the last. And then Bruce, he did one more after that I did not work, but then that was the end of it. That was
tired. Yeah.
21 was, I believe, his last. That was it. 22, he was retired.
But you worked with him through COVID, right? You shot some stuff.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we were, it was crazy. We were in New York City. I did a bunch of New York City. I did a bunch of
paste pecani sauce.
European. Yeah, that's right. That's where that comes from. I did a bunch of European Vodafone commercials, and then there's a company called Hell Energy. So we did a couple of commercials with them. And we were actually in New York. I was in between. So we were filming a movie called Cosmic Sin in Georgia, in Atlanta. And then they flew me up. I flew up with Bruce up to New York, worked this commercial, and then they flew me back to Atlanta to finish the movie. So, but that's right when COVID hit. So after that movie, everything shut down. And then that was in March of 2020. And then we were back to work in September of 2020. So only a few months and we were right back at it. And I believe we were, that movie that Bruce was working on, that we all worked on, but I believe that was one of the only movies being filmed at the time because of COVID. So we were outside, we were in the woods. Everybody was, kind of spaced out and spread out and mask and all that stuff.
The end of 2020 is when I shot the Michelob Ultra Seltzer commercial in LA.
That was a good one.
That was a great one.
We had, it was December and we all had to wear masks between shots. And when I got off the plane, they had a limo take me right to a COVID testing place right away. That was it. Then swabbing my nose. Hey,
man. How far down with the Q-tip did they go?
All the way.
Did they touch your lung with it?
All the way to my boxing glove.
Oh my gosh, man! This lady, I can't remember which movie. It might have been a commercial. Man, she put that thing up my nose, and I mean, I felt like it was down in my stomach. I was tapping out like, please, I can't take it no more.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's been a good run. We'll do more. Nick, we're gonna do more together. We got plans. We got some secret plans in the works.
Ooh, that was my next question. What are the upcoming projects? Anything you can let us in on?
No, I mean, like I said, there's a documentary, maybe a book or two. You never know.
Ooh, nice.
So, and if anybody out there sees this interview and they want to hire some Stallone and Bruce Willis,
and we can do the Expendables look too. I can put the beret on and have the black special forces look. And Eric, Bruce is my boss, of course.
That's right, Mr. Church.
That's right. Maybe sometime Nick will bring Statham on with us. We'll bring our Statham dude. They got the Beekeeper coming out. We got he's got Beekeeper coming out, and he was the transporter originally and all that, and also Stallone's partner in the Expendables. So we do a lot of stuff together too. The three of us have done a lot.
Nice. Nice. So outside of your impersonations and outside of all this, all this work, what are your hobbies?
Eric, they know mine.
Well, I love football. First of all, I love my family, so I spend a lot of time with my family first.
Don't you have a drum set behind you? You like music, right?
And I'm an old '80s rocker. So
Ooh.
He goes to the concerts all the time. I don't go. I'll see every couple of months he's at a concert, right?
yeah, I love music. I grew up. My mom raised me on music, and that's a big part of my life is music. First and foremost, I thank the Lord for what I have, and He's first and foremost in my life, and my family. And I love music. I love football. Unfortunately, my pro team stinks right now, but we got our Oklahoma State Cowboys we root for.
Right,
So.
that's right. Yeah. I just saw something flash. It said Social Batman, Nick. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
One of my buddies. He was on the
Southern
show.
Cal Batman. Hey, when I was in high school, my other nickname was Batman. Yeah.
Ooh.
I had a Batmobile. Well,
All right.
Ford 63 Ford Galaxy 500,
Nice.
Nice.
But thanks for watching Southern Cal Batman.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I got a question for each of you. I'm going to start with Eric, then I'm going to go to Jade.
Right.
Eric, I ask all my buddies that come on this show, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Well, I mean, I look at Jade and we're buddies, and to me, that's a big part of my life is to have him as a friend. I can always reach out to him. He can always reach out. We know we have each other. We got each other's back, and we've shared a lot of life together. I mean, we've done a lot of gigs together. I mean, he knows my family. I mean, my grandson calls him Uncle Rock. So, just to have him as a buddy, I mean, we all need people in our lives and people we can depend on and reach out to and just do life with. So, yeah.
And Jade, I got to ask you this question. Why are buddies important nowadays?
Well, the world can be a cruel place.
Bring it on.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are. It'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. Not you, me, or nobody's going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, you got to go out and get what you're worth. You got to be willing to take the hits and not be pointing fingers and say you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that, right? And besides that, everyone needs a buddy. Thanks for being my buddy, Nick. Eric?
Thank you, Jade, for being a buddy. We got one more question for both of you guys.
Oh, I thought we were finished. I was going to go out with a drum roll. I was going to Eric to go back on the drums. I go boom, boom.
One more question. One more. Because
I was going out with this. Listen. Yeah.
Hey, what happened to my arm?
Yeah.
We've come to what's called. We've come to what's called the Ultimate Buddycast Buddy Question. You guys ready for this one?
Oh my gosh. Here we go. This is like Jeopardy or what?
Yep. Jade, you've answered this, but I know your answer is updated. For anyone out there who wants to do what you guys do, who wants to be a stand-in, wants to be an impersonator, wants to just have fun and do what you guys do, what is your advice to them?
Eric, you want to go first?
Work hard. Don't give up.
Exactly. Look what happens when you don't give up. You can be in a movie with Bruce Willis.
Keep punching.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I agree. Totally. It's when I first started, I was teased a little bit, and it wasn't a bad character to be compared to, but I was always told, you know, you're too skinny, you're too tall, whatever. But I just got, you know what I said? I can do an illusion, as Ron Smith used to say, the first agent for lookalikes, an illusion of an illusion. If I can pull that off and make people happy, I'm happy. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. So, well, buddies, thank you for being buddies on Buddycast. Jade, always a pleasure. You know you're my good buddy. You know you're my favorite Stallone impersonator.
Appreciate
You're
Hey.
it.
Hey,
Eric?
maybe you could talk me into doing a New Year's resolution. We'll do a quick show sometime before the month's over. He already told me I owed him one, you know?
Absolutely. And Eric, thank you for being a buddy on Buddycast. It was a pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me share my journey with you.
Absolutely. For all my buddies out there, this is my new buddy Eric. This is my buddy Jade. You know them? Please reach out to them. They're very, very awesome guys. Where can everyone find you? Where can people connect with you?
Well, for me, it's StalloneImpersonator.com. You know how that goes. Or BuddyByJadeFitness.com. If you want a trainer, I do online training also. BuddyByJadeFitness.com.
So probably Facebook is best for me.
Awesome.
Just look Eric Buarque. You got an unusual name. It's hard.
Well, you know what? You know what's kind of cool is the apple didn't far fall from the tree, and then I'll end it here. But my grandfather, who I didn't know, I might have met him once or twice as a kid, but I don't know if you remember the actor Robert Mitchum.
Yeah, I was told
Robert Mitchum was one of the Hollywood greats. And those two were pals, buddies.
Wow.
Back in their early days. And Robert Mitchum asked my grandfather, whose name was Manuel, asked him to go to California and become movie stars. Well, my grandfather didn't go. Robert Mitchum did, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Nice.
Man, I got to hear more about that story next time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, buddies, yes. Thank you for being buddies on Buddycast. I have one favor to ask you both before we end the show.
Okay.
Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, go out and go be someone's buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Hey. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. But don't feel like go make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.